Hello lovely people, today's video I hope is going to make some suggestions on how to make playing World of Warcraft a little easier if you have a visual impairment. Well, I've spent most of this morning fiddling around in WoW, playing with settings, sliders, add-ons, but I would also like to recognise Matt, Mark, Andy, Jennifer, Louis, Ian, Prindy and Bogglebort for spending some time talking to me about their visual impairments, how their visual impairments impact on their ability to play World of Warcraft, and for making suggestions on how they think that could be rectified. Now, it would be unfair to say that Blizz hasn't added accessibility options to the game. You can see on the screen right now that there is a move pad, more on that in tomorrow's video. There's a colorblind mode for people who are colorblind, but there isn't a high contrast mode. If you have low vision, you may need a higher contrast to distinguish objects in the environment or to distinguish foreground from background. And these options don't really exist currently in World of Warcraft. They aren't available without a lot of tweaking in the graphics settings. And Louis, when I was talking to him, said that it took him almost 6 months to realise that he could put a darker background behind his chat window and increase the font size, because the options to do that are only available by clicking on the chat window, and they aren't available in the main game settings. So please, if you're watching this, there's something really simple you could do as a quality of life improvement for a small number of players with visual impairments. Players who have low vision find that they require different display or resolution settings to process the information that they are reading off the screen clearly. Now, this can often mean choosing to prioritize resolution or frame rate settings at the cost of graphical settings which they can't clearly distinguish in any case. This can lead to problems like not knowing if you're standing in something that is damaging you, or being hit by an ability that uses a visual prompt rather than an audio prompt. And a good example of an add-on to help with this is of course Deadly Boss Mods, which gives you audio prompts while you're raiding, but also GTFO, which can give you an audio indicator when you need to move out of something that is damaging you. But also, if you're a raid leader, something that I used to do in the past that's really helpful in this regard is indicating a DPS player and marking them for players to follow. Now, this is just generally a good idea in raids, but if you have players in your raid team who have a visual impairment, then this is something that I strongly suggest that you consider if you're not already doing it. Now, it is worth pointing out that Blizzard has added some adaptation and some features. For example, if you're having trouble with fishing, there are oversized bobbers in the game which are available from most fishing suppliers. You can see them on screen now. Darkmoon Fur is up currently, so it may be worth buying some before you go out to fish up your Darkmoon Daggermoors. These bobbers are much larger than the default bobbers that come with the game, and consequently why I like them. They are much easier to click on. But for players with visual impairment, this is something that can make it much easier to see. Now, the problem that the majority of people that contacted me seem to be having, and it's a similar problem to one that affects me, is that you can't resize the individual features of the interface independently. And this means that these players become dependent on lots of add-ons like Sexy Map here, or Bartender, which is the add-on I use for my toolbars, to allow you to resize individual components of the interface. Now you can use the UI scale options in the system menu to alter the size of the interface, but it will do that to every single component of the interface as one, and this often results in a very messy interface like you're probably seeing on the screen right now. You can rectify that mess by using add-ons like Bartender for your toolbars. Recount has resize options in it, and as I said, Sexy Maps, and you can shrink the components down proportional to the main interface so that you can keep features that you need, like an increased portrait size in the top corner of the screen or a large chat window, without having bloated toolbars or a huge map icon in the corner. So after a little fiddling, I ended up with this, which is a much better interface for me. But another advantage that Bartender has is that it gives you the ability to set up toolbars for your own purposes. And one idea to help with navigation in World of Warcraft is to have a seeing eye player accompany you and play with you, and this is what my friend Ian does with his father, who only has 60% sight. This requires the use of a follow macro, and if you want to be more flexible and play with other people, you could try making that a pair of macros to set a player as your focus and to follow your focus target. I'll put examples of those macros in the description below. This will allow the player with a visual impairment to simply set the seeing eye player as their focus target and interact directly with them, emoting directly to them, following them, and it allows on some level that player to pull you out of trouble. I can't help you find a friend, sadly, but if you do know somebody that you play with on a regular basis, then this might be an option that could help you. Macros also offer other options as well. As I said about Louis, sometimes reading the chat window and responding to the chat and typing chat can be very difficult. So there are a number of /emote commands that have audio and visual components associated with them. And so by setting up a toolbar like I've done in the video that's playing now, you can effectively create an emote bar to communicate quickly with another player using emotes. Do bear in mind that using these features in group environments with people who are unaware of the reason you are doing this can, and I have been reliably informed of this, lead you to being the subject of some abuse or getting kicked from groups by people who feel you are just spamming emotes for no reason. Now if you play on an RP realm, this shouldn't be as much of a problem. Lots of people use emotes on RP realms for obvious reasons, but if you are worried, then please sort of mention it to the players you're playing with and explain the reasons you're doing it. It isn't an emote wheel, but it's the best I can do with the tools at my disposal. There is, I have been told, an add-on called Over Emote, which has an Overwatch style emote wheel, which is bound to the V button, which may be more to the liking of those of you who don't want to mess around with macros. I haven't seen or tried it, but Prindy swore by it, and similarly, if somebody is watching this and they are a big RP player and they know of any add-ons that could be helpful in that manner, please do put them in the comments below so that other people can see them. I will also include a link to the WoW Gamepedia page, which has all of the slash emotes on it and indicates which ones have audio and voice and animation components attached to them. The last thing that was sort of brought to my attention is that Deadly Boss Mods can provide you with a lot of audio prompts, but they're not really configurable, and Bogglebot reminded me that Tell Me When does have the ability to be configured in such a way that it can track things like a boss casting a particular spell, or even just a general mob in the world casting a spell that you can interrupt, or something like you being stunned. And I haven't had a play around with the audio components of Tell Me When, but I do use Tell Me When as a key part of my own interface. So when I have a bit more time and I have a bit more comfort with that, I may do a wee guide on setting up those sorts of audio prompts in Tell Me When, if people will be interested in such a guide. Now these are just a few tips that people have shared with me and that I'm now sharing with you, and that I hope will really help you if you have a visual disability or you know somebody who has a visual disability, and that you want to bring into the World of Warcraft community, and you want to offer them a more rewarding social experience. I'm happy to answer specific questions with regards to add-ons, and if people want me to make a guide on how to do something with a specific add-on, or in fact any of the things that I've mentioned in this video, I would be more than happy to do that. If you are someone who has a visual impairment, just like any disability, that can be a really isolating experience. Excuse me. And it can be very difficult to feel like you're connecting or connected to the community in the World of Warcraft game. And I sincerely hope that this video will offer you some suggestions, some ideas on how you can go away and look at your add-ons and reconfigure your system so that you can play and feel more like you are contributing and you're more a part of that community. And if you do feel that, then please do get back in touch with me, because I'd be really pleased to know that this video has served that purpose. As I said at the beginning of this video, my heartfelt thanks to Mark, Matt, Andy, Jen, Jennifer, Louis, Ian, Prindy, and of course to Bogglebot, who got in touch and talked to me about what they would like to see in this video. I hope this video is what you wanted. And tomorrow I'll be doing my guide on neurological adaptation and how I've compensated for playing the game with my neurological problems. But until then, please do get in touch.